There it is. Hi, guys. How's it going? Welcome to a very exciting tournament. I am your host and producer, Ark of Covenant, and I am joined by some very cool people for a very cool tournament we have going on today. That is going to be the Gaming for Hope tournament hosted by Trinity Gamers. It's a very exciting LAN event going on in Minnesota. I'm blanking on the city right now, but I'm from Minnesota, so I'm happy to be supporting and hosting a tournament there. And this is a charity tournament. This is a tournament to benefit Hope Kids MN. That's a charity that helps kids with cancer and other sort of life-threatening illnesses. And they're a really great group. And of course, all the proceeds from the LAN event itself are going to that charity, is my understanding. And if we have any generous viewers during the broadcast today, you can also donate to Hope Kids via the link. My bot is supposed to be posting the link, but if not, it's hopekidsmn.com/donate. I'll make it post it in a second here. But Hope Kids is a great group, and hey, there's a logo. How about that? Look at how professional I am. But seriously, charity is good. Help these guys out. We're really hoping to have a good turnout for this one. But of course, for a good turnout, we have to have some very exciting games. And of course, this is going to be a game here between Team Rando and the Honeys. And explaining the teams here is going to be my faithful friends. Let's bring them up here. We've got Bite Me, who is going to be our analyst for today, and then Manny or Sunny and Pokemon Panda are going to be casting for us as well. So Pokemon Panda and Manny, you will hear these guys hyping it up during the game, and Bite Me is going to bring us some analysis between the matches here. And let's talk about these teams right off the bat here, guys. What do you think we are going to see out of the Team Honeys here?
All right, so Team Honey, this is a nice little gathered bunch of friends right here. We're going to start off with their captain, Cupcake. Their tank main, their main shot caller, prefers to play the Diva. Her buddy, her friend, diving in with her fellow tank is Rand. First to play the Reinhardt, so they have, that versus they have the shield or they have the dive going for them. Moving on to someone else who their preferred hero is a tank. Clutch, he's a flex on their team, so he can, fill whatever role they need him to do if people need to switch around, but he does prefer to play Roadhog. Their support is JMP ESP. That's his name. You just say the letters straight up across the line. He's a Lucio. Here's their sole support main. I'm sure the flex helps them out in, that capacity. However, You Mad Bro is one of their DPSs. He's their hit scan. And then their projectile DPS is Chia, who likes to play on that Reaper. They've been together about 6 months, and they really like to play on King of the Hill, but they do not like payload. They're really just here, looking to explore themselves as a team, figure out how they like to play, and get better overall. So definitely a good thing for them to do, and even better that they're doing it for charity.
Excellent indeed. And of course, we cannot forget about our Team Rando here. So they are going to be the favorite team coming into this, but of course, we always like to see some upsets. So Team Rando is going to be the one to beat in this tournament. What do you think we're going to see from these guys?
Team Rando, not to be random at the end of this tournament, has 2 Diva preferred heroes on their team, but they're led by Custom Heat. And as written, he is preferred to be on the Diva role specifically. So we're going to be seeing the flexing coming out in between himself and the other tank main on the team, which is Pretty Boy. So maybe a little bit of Winston, maybe a little bit of Reinhardt. You never really know. They do have Maja Shingo on the Ana preferred role as well. So could see a little bit of Reinhardt and a very good hero to shut down a lot of good quad tank with that biotic nade. And then you also have Jeffrios. Could be a shot caller potential coming out of this Lucio preferred hero specifically. And then you have the DPS lineup, Pagogo on the McCree preferred, and then Life. Probably looking to click the heads and take the life away, as most Soldier 76s tend to do. Now, this team being together for about a month or so now, they do prefer to play that 2-2-2 composition, 2 tanks, 2 support, and 2 DPS as a preferred, as you see. Most teams trying their best to figure out these compositions throughout. their entirety of being a team. But like I said, 2 Diva preferred and 2 hit scan preferred roles as well. It's not a team composition that you see specifically on your screen right now, but I'm interested to see how they flex around the board, taking the counter picks and taking the fight to Team Honeys. Like you said, Ark, this is the team to watch out for. And with this very lucrative amount of information given, it's hard to judge.
Absolutely. Now, we have our map set up already. We have a set of 3 maps we'll be playing here in the first round. This is going to be Ilios, Dorado, and Horizon Lunar Colony. Starting off here on Ilios, let's talk a bit more about what types of comps these teams are possibly going to be playing on these maps, what is going to come out ahead, and I think I want to bring Bite Me in for this one to talk with you guys, and what do you guys think we're going to see here on this current map set?
Well, Ilios being a Koth map, probably one of the more divey maps. But from what I'm seeing from these 2 teams, they both seem to be running 2-2-2, which in a divish meta is going to be pretty weird to see. You know, most people come into a pro game or they come in to watch games, and even the lower ranked teams are trying to run or potentially, you know, try to work with a dive. And I'm really hoping to see some 2-2-2, 2-2-2, as well as some death bolt type, because it's still very viable in these types of Koth gameplays. All you need to do is sort of sit on that point, and then, you know, you already have that ball of death up in there, so it'll work really well.
And another thing I find kind of interesting, especially with the different points in the map, we see a lot of firmacy, especially on, like, you know, the well map, a lot of boopalicious heroes, and no one seems to really have that listed down as one of their, you know, picks. I'm curious if we're going to see them switch to that, or like you said, maybe we'll just see them rescind to the Soldier 76 and things like that. Because the one thing I've noticed a lot when people take these, you know, these boopalicious, yeah, that's the only word I'm going to keep using that word, like especially on well and windmill, I believe it is. I feel like they get stalled out for so long because it's so easy to just knock people into the well or continue to knock them back and forth around the point, and they'll get stalled at 99 for so long. It makes for some really long, drawn out and interesting fights, especially when the defensive respawn timers come in that start to elongate. It turns into people trying to like funnel, but not funnel. What is it? Rush the point one at a time, but not rush it one at a time, so they don't just int. It's like you got to find the middle ground. Do we run in pairs of 2? Or do we try and wait for 3, but we can't really wait because we can't let the timer run? It's an interesting game.
And Lighthouse was the map name I believe you were looking for there. And to continue on with that point, the third map as well, Ruins, is a Widowmaker preferred map as well. So a lot of snipe opportunities, if you will, to counteract your boop opportunities. And that is a whole different game plan as well. And if we're playing this as competitive mindset, if it is a 2-0 in one favor of a team, if they would rather see more of that well lifestyle, say we go Lighthouse than Ruins, and there's more of that long sight line available, Widowmaker can be played across most of these different maps. You could set them up, Soldier 76 as well, could shut down Pharah if it's not on well specifically, and if one team specifically doesn't get that map and they're most comfortable on a pharmacy composition, it could spell devastation for either or, but you never really know. I mean, Widowmaker is really good in this current patch that we are playing on as well. I haven't gotten any news that Brigitte is disabled as well. So if we are going to Ruins, I expect to see a heavy shield composition coming out from one team and a Widowmaker composition coming out from the other team. So Big Head's going to be butting back and forth.
And like you said about that, definitely about that Pharah, but with these lower level tiers, you can't really expect them to be winning many air battles or actually winning a bunch of ground to air battles, but you do see they're probably going to be getting distracted by those. You know, you're going to see most lower level tier players trying to hit that Pharah out of the sky, even though it might not really be directing the team. So while the best choice might be able to just try and win that ground battle, you might see some people on either side of the team, if either of them do decide to run Pharah, not really trying to focus down the ground battle, but actually trying to win the airspace, which, to be honest, you're not going to be utilizing if they don't have a Pharah.
So that's a pretty valid point as well. And speaking of heroes that are continuously good in this patch, Zenyatta, Soldier 76, all heroes that you can just land a few shots down on the Pharah. But to your point there, Bite May, as well, that to get a Pharah out of the sky that is being pocketed by a Mercy, a little bit easier to do than an Ana on the ground, like you were mentioning. a lot of skill shots needed to keep that Pharah afloat, but it can spell devastation, even regardless of the tier setting of these teams. Mechanically, mindset coming off of a few background of a lot of first-person shooter games, Soldier 76, no slouch, very easy to transition into, just to kind of track around on that hero in the sky. And if you don't have the buildings to fly around or the macro play for that Pharah, you're kind of necessarily caught out in the open a little bit, and you can't really do anything against that Soldier 76 if your Mercy's down healing an Orisa or a Reinhardt. So it can be a game of mind play for one of these teams if they allow to do so. But if they do get a little bit of that trigger, they could end up just continuously staggering themselves, and then that Pharah could really just be a huge thorn in the side for one of these teams. But it's all speculation. It's all speculation.
I don't think I'm going to be running it or not. In fact, I'm really hoping to see on the triple boot, maybe quad boot, if we can actually see, Roadhog, Pharah, Lucio, Orisa. You got to get, the more people you can actually get into that suck them into the black hole of doom, the happier you'll feel. Maybe no supports, I'll just get the diva in there as well, have some nice fun.
Have you ever seen the clip? I want to say it's one of the top clips on the top front page of Overwatch where the Reinhardt, or it's not a Reinhardt, it's a Roadhog. As a diva ulti is going off like over the well, he jumps into and then he hooks the ulti down and pulls it into the pit with him to save the team and win the game.
Not all hero wear cape.
Yeah,
the most selfless Roadhog you will ever see. It's completely out of lore and out of character for a Roadhog.
Oh God, how dare he!
This Roadhog just likes to steal just Pachamaris out of vending machines, for goodness sakes, but not this time. No, that's a very good Twitch clip that, yes, the Roadhog can indeed use the hook ability to pull the Diva mech around as it's mid-self-destruct into a well of sorts, around walls, save the team. It's kind of interesting, when you're looking at these control map styles, or like you mentioned, Bite May, Koth, King of the Hill, however you prefer it at home, that you can use a lot of heroes in a different situation. You could use Winston Roadhog and make it work in situations like that. You can use McCree into a dive meta and make it work because Flashbang and that Peacekeeper is just very strong against most meta heroes, say Tracer and Sombra.
Definitely. Ooh, now you mentioned Sombra.
Oh,
I need to get a little tangent right there. Oh, one of my favorite heroes ever added to the meta. Everyone was to say, oh, she's gonna change the meta. Well, not really putting that much pressure onto the meta. She is a very viable hero now that her hacking is a little bit faster. They can't really get her all off that quickly because they changed the health pack. I think they also increase the time to get it. I'm unsure about that one though. But you are going to be seeing a 2-2 with both players. With both teams, Team Honey's actually going to be running a Reinhardt. A Sombra on Team Rando might be a good pick, getting up behind, hacking that Reinhardt, and now you just have this, you don't need a shield battle if there's not going to even be a shield, so you have that Reinhardt, and then the damage just comes in, along with running that Ana, McCree, and Diva, Soldier 76, with that shield down, it's going to be other devastation.
It's true. That's very true. And especially when that EMP does come through, it takes a little while longer to get that charge off unless you play very aggressive like most Sombras do at this point, getting into the behind of a Reinhardt like you were mentioning there, shutting down that big tanky composition. You can get your ultimate pretty darn quickly. It's normally say about 40% slower than your average or the previous patch of Sombra where you used to get the old charge off the health packs, beneficiary of your teammates and yourself. Just translocating back to it, back and forth. But that EMP, though, can shut down one of the most needed heroes in some of these 2-2-2 compositions. When you have a Mercy in the sky keeping the Pharah alive, typically you'll see on the ground either a Lucio or Zenyatta. We know that EMP is very strong, Manny, for shutting down that sound barrier ultimate and just shutting down a Zenyatta indeed, because that EMP just leaves you at 50 HP and then, you're just dead.
I'm curious. I want to pose this question to you, much more cultured gentleman, in terms of Sombra, because personally, I haven't seen a lot of Sombra down in the depth pit that I play my SR in. How do you feel if there's a Sombra, if both teams have Sombra as one of their DPSs? Do you feel the ultimate, do you feel the EMP it turns into the early bird gets the worm kind of thing for their team in terms of which Sombra ults first, or do you feel like in some scenarios you might actually want to let the other one ult first, let the whole team commit, and then drop your ultimate, trying to catch any of those, those back end of the fight ultimates?
Yeah, and when you're playing Sombra, you think of this: if you ult the Sombra before she ults, she can't ult. And I also thought of this
Fair
one.
point.
Yeah, you can't. And I also thought of this, like you said with the Pharah, Sombra can now hack Pharah, and she can no longer fly. She can hack Genji and Hanzo, and they can no longer wall climb. So that brings a lot of mobility that they could have potentially had in like the end to now like, oh, you get hacked by a Sombra, your mobility is completely gone now. It also applies to Lucio. He can no longer wall ride when he's hit by Sombra or hacked by Sombra, if I'm correct.
I believe
You
he
know,
even loses the healing too.
That's
no,
true. Yeah, he loses the wall ride ability. He cannot fade, shift in between speed nor healing. He loses it all, gentlemen. So at the point, continuing on, like you said, Manny, having a Sombra on both sides of the team, it all really comes down to what's in your personal backline. Is your backline prepared to handle the EMP? Because we've seen a lot of Zenyatas and a lot of Lucios get cheeky in the past, both in Twitch clips and in even the upper epsilons of the Overwatch League, that you can hide away from all effectiveness of the EMP and then come in and sound barrier your entire team and then just shut down the EMP. On the other hand, though, you could end up looking at it as a Reinhardt v. Reinhardt situation, and it's more of a mental game than it is anything. And to your point as well, Bite May, if you ult the other Sombra first, you can't really get the EMP off. It's kind of like that same transition that if you can catch the Reinhardt as he's coming down with the hammer down, with your hammer down, you are shutting down the other hammer down, regardless of either you had your shield up or not. But it comes down to that huge macro play that I really love to see in these 6v6 situations, because there's always that little mini game that's going on when you have mirror compositions like that. Mercy, Valkyrie opportunities, Transcendence opportunities, Graviton surges, it goes on forever.
definitely.
I didn't even I completely forgot. So like, because one of the big aspects that people take, of pharmacy is they essentially force the other team to play, that vertical game with them. But because how is there an upper limit to how far up in the air EMP goes? Like if Farrah's at her max height, her and Mercy, will they get hit by it and brought down to the ground, or can they outfly it, so to speak?
There is a skill ceiling. It's more of a bubble of radius than it is anything, kind of like the Death Blossom.
Okay.
You can get away from it, but more often than not, when you reach that skill ceiling on Pharah, you typically won't have the jet booster available to keep yourself afloat unless you started jet boosting, say, take Well, for example, like if you're on top of that very high epsilon of that windmill, and then you could just jump you up, and you can keep the Mercy out of the EMP range, but it comes down to the Sombra. Like you see more often than not, they come in like martyrs. I tell you, Manny and Bite, they come in like martyrs. They just translocate in there, and they don't even care. They'll try to get the verticality so that way everybody gets shut down. And the most devastating thing is if you're Pharah or you're Mercy, and you're just above the well, you can't really go anywhere because you can't fly. Those wings, those jetpacks, they're done.
Yo, man, you fall like stone into the well, you dead.
Yeah,
Ooh.
you're dead.
From the top of Mount Olympus down into the depths of Hades. It's really interesting when you watch Pharaohs have to descend and play the game on the ground like the rest of us plebeian heroes. It looks really out of place because like Pharah doesn't have the self-protection from her own she doesn't have the self-protection from her explosions, kind of like Junkrat does. And I've seen it so many times where Pharaohs are now on the ground and they're trying to shoot like a monkey or something that's in their face. And they end up killing themselves before he even has to do it because he's just like right there. And there's like, shoot. And they take themselves out.
Area of effect damage definitely playing into effect to a lot of that Accords. Rocketeer or specialist damage, as I like to call it, Junkrat, the micro missiles from D.Va, who, speaking of, we can't forget, did take a minor nerf. We got to remember that the dash damage when you boost through your enemy is 25 down to 10. So it is a lot of burst potential gone from D.Va alone. So like to your point, Manny, when Pharaohs are killing themselves with a rocket barrage, D.Vas won't be doing as much damage to their mech now with those micro missiles. Nevertheless, though, it's still going to be interesting to see how that plays into effect. Because like you said, that Pharah v any tank battle really just comes down to, okay, well, I have the HP. I'm going to get in your face. And what are you going to do? You're just going to shoot a rocket at me? Well, area damage. Here we are.
Ooh, and you're definitely right. I think it was said, I don't know if you said this or not. D.Va, while still not being great against one, like the micro missiles are no longer good against a solo. You can't go up to someone like just macro missile them do a bunch of damage and then get the kill. Instead, you need to sort of be more disciplined on how you use it. And while it's losing most of its power in a solo thing, if you go in like a 6 or you just jump into the enemy team and then micro missile, it still has a lot of versatility and it does a lot of damage.
That is very true. Versatility is typically the name of the game when it comes down to it. In Overwatch, that's why you see a lot of hero swaps and counter picks alike. You see a Pharah, you get a Soldier 76, you see a Genji, you get a McCree, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
It's just one of those huge macro plays that comes out across the board. And as we're getting more heroes into the realm of Overwatch, the lore is building, the book is getting thicker, gentlemen. We can feel it building. Because even Brigitte coming in here as well can shake things up. And that's
I don't think we really talked about. I don't think we really talked about Brigitte and how she can be used properly. It's with that with her swing and the AOE damage. She's what I feel could be more used for CC, although she hasn't fully been implemented into the meta yet, so we don't really know what she can be used for. Although she's really good for sort of sticking with 2 or 3 people because she's not as a main healer as Mercy is, but she does have that burst healing that can take, I'd say, like a very low teammate and bring him almost up to max and give him a little bit of shield to spare.
I think the big thing too is the fact that she gives armor with it as well, so helps give them that reduced damage, which especially comes into benefit when, like you said, they're at that last little sliver of health. But I agree. I feel like Brigitte could be kind of used as like a captain of, could be used as like, so to speak, like a captain of like a 3-man team if you guys are trying to set up some sort of flanks. Going back to that Sombra Martyr you were talking about, if you ever find yourself getting caught out of position, you at least have Brigitte here to heal people up. Be like call for the retreat and just group back up as a team if the play ends up falling flat for you.
That's exactly right. And typically when it comes down to Brigitte, sometimes when you have that shield up, you just hit that your left click and it gives you that shield bash, and then somehow you're just into the front line of the enemy team. But when you're running the Brigitte composition, what I've seen throughout European teams as well, what works best is a triple healer, triple tank composition. And I know it sounds weird.
Oh, yeah.
I know it sounds weird, but when you take that Moira and the Lucio backing up behind the small shield that is Brigitte, the stun, crazy. If you can keep Brigitte up, the armor will come through eventually. Rally, fantastic. You don't need to pop it in the midst of a team fight. You can pop it before a team fight, and that overhealing translates into armor, and that's even just better for your team in general. But having the defense ultimate from Lucio, the coalescence to play more aggressive, triple tank composition, typically people bring out either a Roadhog for extra damage, but you will see a Diva and a Winston or a Reinhardt and a Zarya, and these big tanky compositions coming out to keep all 3 supports alive. It's just scary. It's just scary. I mean, it's like a bowling ball
sort of
just rolling towards you, and as it's rolling towards you, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
I definitely love those kind of Slambulance-esque plays, and that Moira is going to be getting her all every 5 seconds because that while Brigitte and Lucio are going to be doing some healing, Moira is going to be like, you have all the tanks lined up, you heal them in one go, you almost basically already have all.
It's true.
Coalescence. Oh, I just coalescence like 30 seconds ago. Let me coalescence again. Thank you very much. GG, no re.
Yep, that orb from Moira is devastating, both damage and healing alike. But that's why you see most teams bring out the Diva. Though it is 2 seconds of defense matrix, it's very good just to eat up the orbs. But most teams get caught up in the ult charge more often than not when you don't have a Diva. It's like, well, I'm about 50%. Don't want to swap quite yet. And before you even know it, either the point just captured the 3rd point, or we're at 88% on a control point here. And it's just a huge nut like this.
They just had 5%. How'd they get up to 80%? I'm so confused. The amount of times I've played games and the amount of times I've casted games, I'll be like, oh yeah, no, they just caught the point, and then 5 seconds later, it's the next team fight. Wait a minute. Do they have 80%? This is the last team fight. How long have I been watching this? This game is so fast paced, and you don't really have time to react or actually do anything about it. Although you have that said those macro plays, and you also gotta switch your heroes. Like the flex players are very vital to how you actually win and play this game. Although you'll see most flex players are just like a flanker DPS, like a tracer, you see those better flex players, they'll switch off to tank, healer, whatever needs to do just to counter one hero, and that one hero counter can basically win you the entire game.
Very true. Very true. All comes down to big, nutty play at the end of the day, but the macro play will end up squashing micro play in the end. Seen Widowmakers clip heads, but I've seen tanks create space, which is more effective in the end when it comes down to these objective-based games like Overwatch alike. So
Yeah.
you can go crazy.
I'm
but
gonna
you can't
jump in
always get the
here.
job done.
I'm gonna jump in here with a little tournament update. We have 11 of our 12 players here in the lobby. Last one's having a little bit of internet issues, so we are praying to the gods of 4G LTE to be merciful. So if you are watching, if you could lend that player your energy, we'll get them in here shortly. While we are waiting here, I know you guys obviously could talk about this game literally forever, as you have already proven. But let's take a kind of short little aside here to talk about the kind of group that we're coming from, which is broadcast.gg. And we have some kind of big news regarding that as well. So one thing that you may or may not have heard to those watching is we are going to be running a broadcast for Overwatch Open Division. That's kind of on the path to pro. We're doing NA and EU, and we'll be doing essentially the official broadcast for that. Are you guys hyped for this thing, or are you hyped?
I am
Extra
actually
hyped.
truly blessed, super hyped, and cannot wait to see more and more high-level play of Overwatch as we venture on through Open Division.
Now,
The longer,
I know I'm kind of putting you guys on the spot here, but for those who are maybe not as familiar, who might be watching this, can you explain the way that Open Division is going to kind of work and what its significance is in the overall pro Overwatch scene?
Well, overall, the best part about Open Division, much like Contenders as well, you've seen how effective it is throughout social media. These players are pretty good, not only just clicking on heads or creating space, regardless of what they do. They're really good at networking, and the best part about all of this is it puts their name out there. And having your name out there, so that way pro teams and their coaches alike can really just venture out there, or even analysts alike can just take notes. Those go a long way. Just seeing that one player's name go crazy that one time, seeing the consistency of that one player is how most players typically get their big name for it all. I'm not too prevalent nor have enough caffeine on the inside of me to remember all the specifics of how Open Division works, but to my knowledge and understanding, the best part about it all as a whole is that it does help these players get noticed by bigger teams to then move into Contenders, have their team win, and then move into Contenders, get a notice for Overwatch League, because I believe that that's actually how Space got noticed as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happens, up in those higher tiers of competitive play. If I am remembering correctly, if you win Open Division, or you do very, very well in Open Division, you do get into Contenders. Is my remembrance of that particular.
Yeah, I think that's right. Because I mean, path to pro, and then it kind of just sets you up on that whole epsilon tree, so that way you can just climb with your team, see how far you can go. Because once you're into Contenders, especially for the EU side of life and even NA respectively, there's a lot of big names in there that I'm sure most of you at home and some of you are definitely missing and remembering, such as Dummy Olsen or Ajax or Shatter 2K, Craggy, or I'm sorry, not Craggy, Kabaji. All of those big names, or even Zerg too. I mean, like, there's a lot of cool people up there in Contenders that you can play for, or play for a chance to play against, rather, and that has to just be the most exciting of it all.
Honestly, I remember my first time into Overwatch Open Division. We had lost our first game. I'm not gonna lie, pretty depressing. Like we were not happy with how he played in that game. But after going onto the Discord that they had open and talking with everyone, I felt way better because at least I didn't have to play against FaZe for my first game or any of the pro teams that were actually in Open Division. Thank God. Have you been on Open Division yet, Panda or Manny?
No, not me. I've never really played a game to the upper epsilons that I've seen most teams play Overwatch to.
I'm in
How about you, Manny?
3-digit SR, so.
I got a 3.
Dude, that's the right SR. That is the SR you should be in. I want to be in that SR.
I'm just
Open
saying.
I go to
divisions-
gaming lounges. I go to gaming lounges. I sit there and I play. I try to. They have like different accounts for gaming lounges. I sit there and I continuously log on and off into other different accounts. Like, here, which one is the lowest account and how can I make it lower?
I think Open Division is actually open to all SRs, if I remember right. So
Yeah, it is open to all stars.
yeah, so if you have a dream and you could try really hard, anybody can do it. I thought about doing Open Division myself at a couple points, but it's hard. You have to, if you really want to be successful at it, you have to really commit to at least practicing together. If you're not as strong SR of a player, you can try to make up for that in really coordinated teamwork. Obviously, Overwatch is a team game, so if you have the time to really work with your team and get down, get that sort of synergy going, it is definitely something that you can, play with the big boys, so to speak, even if you aren't quite as skilled. That's kind of a really cool thing about Overwatch. I think that we are maybe going to not exhaust whatever remaining topics we have to talk about. We're actually going to throw this to a break here until we can get the game going, give our vocal cords a little bit of a rest. We are, like I said, just missing one person right now, going through some technical issues, so hopefully we'll have them in here soon. If not, we may end up doing like a bye or a forfeit or just moving to the next round. But we will be back with an update for you guys and hopefully a game very shortly, so stay tuned.